Hi, I'm Tina Shakur here at Cisco Live with Kevin, who's presenting in our theater today. Kevin, you're going to be, a lot of people can't be here live, so a quick synopsis of how you're talking to our customers about raising the relevance of IT within their organization. Tell me a little bit more about this.
Sure, Tina. The charter of IT professionals these days is to move the perception of their organization away from cost and service center and more toward business and strategy accelerator and enabler. And CIOs are very focused on that. And both CIOs and IT executives, as well as line of business executives, have asked us to change our approach a little bit, or they've given us an opportunity to do that, which also helps us differentiate, and it helps them differentiate.
So now, one of the things that we've talked about earlier was that it's not about the technology first.
Right.
It needs to be about the business and understanding the careabouts of the organization.
Right.
And you have sort of four major careabouts or impact areas that we're really looking at with our customers, right?
That's true. And in fact, if you take a look at this chart, one thing that really both our salespeople as well as IT needs to kind of wrap its mind around is that for a business executive who controls spend authority for our projects, the technology itself is pretty irrelevant to them until and unless they can see that the capabilities it delivers helps them in terms of the process innovations that it accelerates or outright enables. It helps deal with the cultural realities that are in place, and ultimately delivers low-risk cash flow, because that's what every executive wants to invest their working capital to get. And it would be best if we can tie that low-risk cash flow back to their primary interests, because that's what they want to spend on first.
Okay.
And general welfare gets funded last.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now there are primary careabouts, as we've gone through this, we've found some major areas that we really tend to hone in on and focus on, right?
Right, because if you think about it, there's a million different verticals and industries, and how does an IT professional or a salesperson focus in on all of them and be somewhat expert or what have you? And the answer is they don't. And they don't need to, because ultimately management cares about four things. If you distill all of the things in terms of industry specific to four financial drivers, what management's doing is trying to increase the company value by driving growth, controlling costs, retaining customers, and driving up operational productivity. And as you go higher in the organization, the more consistent the conversation gets. So if you engage an executive on this basis, you're somebody that they're going to want to talk to.
Absolutely. Now, we have a lot of examples around careabouts within these, but you have a very specific example around healthcare and how things align to these four areas, right?
I do indeed. We map everything to those four basic business drivers, and we help IT create that IT business co-sponsorship. And we organize these things into impact areas, and this particular one on the screen is healthcare. And the little bullet points there are all the places where potentially cash flow opportunity may live in a business. Now, when we start out with a customer, we have no idea exactly what lives where and what's possible and how potential can turn to actual. But we use a business discovery process to figure that out and to help quantify what's achievable.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about this discovery process, because this is something that we approach our customers with. It is not about selling services or anything like that.
Right.
This is a sales model for us, really.
It really is, and the challenge is rewiring our brains to it, away from the idea of the traditional technology vendor of here's my product, here's what it does, I hope you can find business value, to saying, you know what, we're going to take the business risk and assume that there's probably something we can help you with, but until you have a problem or opportunity worth solving for or achieving, our stuff is irrelevant. And so it takes some courage on behalf of the salespeople and perhaps on behalf of IT, because they're used to thinking in those terms too in many ways.
All right, very good. Now, so we have a whole methodology around this.
We do.
Now, what happens once we've gone through the discovery process with our customers?
So it's a very accelerated process because we're not consulting, because we're not charging you for our brilliance and our time. Our interests are aligned with yours. We want you to to identify whether you have a risk-adjusted opportunity worth pursuing or not. And if you don't, we'll be out of your hair. And if you do, we hope to win the opportunity to solve it. But there are no strings attached. If you have a business case, it doesn't mean you have to fulfill the technology enablement part through us.
All right, now once we've gone through the discovery process and really mapped these to impact areas, there is actually a sort of an impact summary that we can provide that actually ties dollars and facts, right, that are acceptable globally, or at least
Right.
within the organizations.
Right. You take the use cases of what's the process innovation and the technological enablements and those things. So what we do is ultimately help them build that risk-adjusted business case, and then we use standard finance tools like discounted cash flow models, because ultimately the customer needs to own the data, and only they have the right to decide what is a sufficiently conservative projection of the possible. And ultimately the sponsoring executive, supported by the CFO organization, is going to use things like standard finance models to justify the level of opportunity that they have and that it is properly risk adjusted.
Well, it sounds like from a customer standpoint, this is how you would want everyone to approach you.
You would think.
You would think. All right. Well, I know you got to prepare to go up on stage here in a few minutes, but thank you for sharing this with our virtual viewers and giving them the opportunity to hear a little bit of what you're presenting today.
It's my pleasure. If this resonates, they should talk to their account manager, because we're making this available to our sales teams, and I'm one of the people, and I work on a team that helps salespeople do that.
Fantastic. Thank you so
Thanks.
much for your time.
Sure.